welcome to the podcast. We have Robert Mahoney. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me.
I mean, you could join me. I could join you. We can all join each other. So talk to me about your connection to deeper learning.
So I was asked to come to deeper learning because my company, TVTP Solutions, does a lot in the prevention realm with schools. And they wanted to have a different approach to talking about school security, which is on everybody's minds, unfortunately, at the moment. And I come with a more proactive prevention type of mindset with, schools. I have a bunch of different services. And what I have seen sort of through my years of working with schools is that many schools have more of a protection or preparedness type mindset where they are actually waiting for things to happen so that they can respond to them rather than being playing defense rather than playing offense and being on the front foot. And so getting them trained up into just their general awareness of like what to look out for, from risk factors to behavioral indicators to the pathway of violence, and then establishing sort of a culture of prevention and a culture of care within the school or the district as a whole, so that seemingly innocuous one-off incidences that don't really raise anybody's alarm in terms of threat assessment, actually, when you sort of put the puzzle all together, create sort of a character arc, and you're like, oh. Yeah. And that's one of the things that we've seen sort of post-incident. A lot of people will go and take a look at
pieces together.
That, which we didn't take really all that seriously, contributed to this that we didn't really see was a major issue, that then combined with this, and then all three of them kind of distorted everything and created this sort of radicalization pathway of violence and everything else. We could have intervened here, or here, but we have this sort of mentality of a threshold has to be crossed and then we will respond to it. And trying to thread that needle of response is incredibly difficult. It's incredibly expensive. It gets everybody scared, and it has really long lasting effects for staff, for students. They always remember it years and years later.
Yeah, of course.
Even if nothing comes of it, just the mere threat of something like that happening can really jostle people for a long, long time. So having those mechanisms and having that processes within the school of how information is shared, who it's shared with, being very cognizant of HIPAA and FERPA laws and everything else, but making sure that everybody sort of plays a role in the prevention space, and then not trying to out anybody, but really looking for those signs to get assistance and be of assistance.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it as like, and I don't want to oversimplify like what you've created, but is it algorithmic? Like almost like you're looking at various factors, and if it's a certain number, like I'm wondering, maybe let me back up on my question. Are you using AI at all in your work, or is this really like human-centric?
It's more human-centric at the moment. And I think one of the reasons why it is because I don't think, one, the technology, you don't want to treat like a Minority Report movie, right?
No,
where you've got AI looking at different behaviors and then sort of like coming up to an assumption that might not be true. Right. That's one of the reasons why we talk about risk factors, but risk factors really aren't predictive.
No, of
so
course.
You can have a lot of risk factors and not feel, you can be radicalized, fully radicalized, but not feel that violence is sort of that pre-canceled problem. So, I think that there's still a lot of questions as to the use case of AI and how we're going to use it in the appropriate way. One of the things that I worked a little bit with Microsoft in their AI group in trying to have AI pick out sort of commonalities amongst different sectors. So if there is a person at a school that has like some behavioral problems, but they are also flagged because law enforcement knows of them, or mental health knows of them.
Yeah, that's actually what I was referring to. Like PlayLab AI saw a really good use case. I don't know if you're familiar with the tool. The founder's name is Yusuf. He's really bright. I saw a really good use case from a principal in New York City who took, they were trying to predict attendance.
Mm-hmm.
So what they did was they took weather and they took student profiles and years worth of analytics for each student. And they predicted when the student would be absent. So what I was thinking was you could overlay a bunch of different factors like behavioral incidents flagged at school, like grade concerns, like conflict in the guidance counselor's office, law enforcement, and that could be your predictive analytic to help you just have like here's the kid that we need to do more social emotional intervention with.
Right.
Spend more time with the school counselor.
Or yeah, and also just to notify those different sectors that other people are having the same issue, right? And because most of those sectors don't really interact very well. And one of the things that I say is, see something, say something has just become ingrained in all of our lives. And it's one of the best marketing things that I've ever seen. But we don't necessarily have a reporting problem.
Yeah.
We have a coordination problem, right? A lot of an incident happens and then you hear like, oh, that he was known to the school or he was getting mental health services or he was known to the cops. But they just, and listen, we want to keep privacy as a big component of it, but you can notify those different sectors that they are all working on the same individual without sharing PII.
Yeah.
And so that might be a use case in the future for AI and how we do that. One of the things that we've tried to do is try to take most schools have mandated a behavioral threat assessment team. There's not a lot of guidance from states to schools about what that should look like or how it should operate. But we also think at TVTP, my company, we feel that it's kind of unfair for the school to be the nucleus of the town's behavioral threat assessment, which it is now.
Yeah.
So it's very unfair for the school to have to be the coordinating body between law enforcement and mental health rather than having a townwide or a countywide sort of behavioral threat assessment team where the school is a piece of it, but not the driving force.
Sure.
So that might be another use case for AI to sort of help with that and that coordination, going forward. So those are some of the projects that we're sort of working on.
Very cool and very needed. I'm curious if you had any advice to give a leader right now, for the future of this coming school year. And if they're not a user of your product, but maybe they're curious about the best first step, what would you tell them?
So I would tell them probably that to understand that human beings are often extremely irrational and non-linear. And a lot of our decision making follows a very linear, logical pathway. And we wonder why people aren't influencing their behaviors because of the facts that are presented to them or certain other logical things that we put in place to sort of showcase how they should act. And so my advice is to sort of look more into the human aspect of things, try to dig down onto those more behavioral type things that we sort of like that sometimes we can describe, sometimes we can't describe, and try to think outside the box. Very small things, if you adjust them, can go a really, really long way. And you might not have to do the big giant maneuvers to get people to behave in a certain way that you probably was more control.
Love it. Rob, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.